Thank you for browsing page 121. Today we're going to jump into a book by Independence Games for their game Rider. We're going to look at Careers of the Old West, a Rider career catalog. I want to thank the folks at Independence Games for sending this book my way. There's the front, there's the back. Pretty books. I really love the books that Independence Games puts out. So basically, we start with the opening credits. John Watts is the author. John always writes a really good book. And we get into some of the nice artwork in the book. And the table of contents. I always love a good table of contents. It helps you find stuff. And then the career catalog. Basically, what this is telling us is that any of the careers that are brought forth in the Rider base game that are here, go ahead and use the ones out of this book that's a little more updated. And then, of course, we have benefits. These are your mustering out benefits, if you will. I think it's pretty cool that you could be a barber and have a mustering out benefit and get a barber kit. It's just neat. So here we go. We get some nice artwork again from the Old West. Now, real quick recap. I guess I should have said at the top. Rider is a game of the old American West from around the 1870s, just post the American Civil War, and where a lot of popular Hollywood movies have been set over almost a century, and this is your chance to play in them. The only analog to this I can think of that off the top of my head is the old Boot Hill game from TSR back in the early 80s. So here's our first career. We could be an actor. You could be a stage actor. That's pretty cool. And then various mishaps and events in your career. Also cool. You could be a banker. I like the idea that you're going to play an NPC banker. And of course, you've moved on from these careers. And you were a banker and now you are a cattle rustler or whatever you're doing. You don't have to be a banker. You don't have to get up and work from 9 to 5 in the local bank and get held up every couple of minutes. You can do other things with the character. That's the whole point. But this is also phenomenal fodder for NPCs. You can be a barber. Floyd the Barber. Oh, Andy, everybody loves Floyd the Barber. Why not play him in a role-playing game? Deck 6 seems a little high for Floyd to me, but what the heck. So we continue on. Here we have a barkeep. Miss Kitty leaps to mind from the old Gunsmoke show. And one of the things I thought of while I was working this, and I think I've said this before in a couple of the other Rider videos I did, is this, of course, is not limited to the Old West in the 1870s, the American Old West in the 1870s. You could also do this in Australia or in South America. Even Spain had some cowboy days and things. But the other thing you can do is take a page from Firefly, the old TV series, where they were going to world colonies, and the colonists were basically living in essentially what is the Old West. That was a lot of the flavor of the series, and this book would certainly add to that. And actually, I'm going to use some of the stuff out of here for one of my 2-6 space games. And then we have a blacksmith. I love the mustering up benefit, cash. The best you can get as a blacksmith is $80. That's just cool. Continuing on, Careers of the Old West. These are very well thought out. I really appreciate a book that shows a lot of effort, a lot of the mishaps or advantages you can get. I'll just go, for instance, on the blacksmith. Blacksmithing is hard. Gain a level of athletics, coordination, endurance, or strength. You're swinging a hammer all day. Yeah, you're going to grow some strength. You could be a cook. Walter Brennan. There you go. Your chance to play Walter Brennan. Anybody who knows the film Red River, one of my favorite westerns, knows what I'm talking about. Dance hall girl. Okay. You could be a dentist. A dentist in the Old West would not be wanting for work. A detective. Maybe a Pinkerton. That was kind of an interesting thing in the old Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid film. The Pinkertons end up being important motivators through most of that film. I don't know if they're actually Pinkertons, but they're two-fisted lawmen. A journalist? Yeah, why not? I like a journalist. Go West, young man, Horace Greeley. That's what he was doing. He was a journalist who came back and wrote a bunch of stories and became famous for it. As you can see, I've been giving this a lot of thought. I read this over last night, and I've been giving this a lot of thought as I've gone forward. Judge. Yes, Judge is a staple in the old Westerns. he's the local final arbiter of the law. So you can have you can be a former judge. Maybe you still consider yourself a judge, that the law is wherever you walk. That kind of thing. That could be an interesting character. A lawyer, the other end of the judge thing. You perform in front of the judge. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, if I'm not mistaken, James Stewart's character was studying to be a lawyer. Lumberjack, you'd have to be a little outside the desert Southwest for that, but it's still a doable thing. You have a rancher, very famous character type in the Old West movies, is a rancher or former rancher falling on hard times. The Naked Spur, also with Jimmy Stewart, phenomenal example of that. Guy who comes back from the Civil War, he lost his ranch, so he's trying to make money as a bounty hunter. Great film, I recommend it highly. A rustler, because why not? If there's cows, they should be rustled, darn it. And somebody's got to do it. You are a criminal that specializes in theft of cattle. You are a rustler. A sharpshooter. Annie Oakley leaps to mind when you say sharpshooter. That's how she made her living with I think it was the Buffalo Bill Cody show. A shopkeeper, just the guy in town keeping the shop and maybe all the local gossip. A teacher, a marm, a school marm at a place, real life teacher depicted in the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid film. An undertaker. Eventually, we're all going to need his services. I don't know if I want to roleplay one, but I do want one as an NPC for sure. And there you go. And there's the Undertaker's office, his place of business, if you will. Wild West show performer. And here it mentions you're part of a traveling Wild West show, such as the Scouts of the Prairie, Texas Jack's Wild West, or Buffalo Bill's Wild West. And all the things that can happen as a Wild West performer. A lot of great stories can be built out of these characters, whether you're playing it in the desert Southwest of America post-Civil War, or if you're moving it to a colony on a foreign alien planet, and your tech level 13 characters are interacting with these guys. A lot of good stories can be built that way. And then we have the open game license information, and we're out of the book. Very pretty books. I love how pretty these books are. I went into this one with an idea of reading it. If I'm going to play a writer game, okay, what would I use? And by the time I finished this, I was thinking of all the movie and television depictions of various characters from the American Southwest in the late 19th century. I really got some ideas for that. And then, of course, once I started thinking about Firefly and all the uses for these careers in that setting, there's a lot you can do. There's a very good Firefly episode where the people their society is so regressed that they actually believe in witches and witchcraft, which is pretty neat too. So that's something you can roll into something like this too. But that's really all I've got to say. This is a very useful book. I'm going to pull a bunch of ideas from it. I'm going to have to play Rider one of these days. I haven't played it yet. I'm going to have to get around to playing it just to see how it plays. I know how the rules will play, but I love the idea of populating my Old West town with some of these characters. So that's all I've got today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Again, I want to thank the folks from Independence Games for sending this my way. Please leave some comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Take a look at Independence Games site and some of the fine products you can get off of them. I think this is also on DriveThruRPG, so you can take a look there for it as well. I'll put a link to both below. But like and subscribe. Take a look at Patreon. Help me out there if you can. And that's all I've got for today. I'll see you next time on page 121.